I teach clients is the power of shifting awareness into the body to folks who maybe have spent a lot of their lives really living from the neck up. So some ways to do this are to bring attention into your hands. So our hands have a lot of sensory receptors. This is one of the first practices I'll give people. Practice slowing your pace like 3 to 5%. So this can look like committing to, anytime you think of it, walk just a little bit slower. The challenge is remembering to do it and having the discipline to do it. There are so many reasons why we turn to our phones, right? What are you looking for in there? Sometimes you're looking for an escape, right? Something happens, you're feeling, again, lots of sensation in the body, and it's a way to numb. Is there a more wholesome alternative?
Well, Rebecca Willison is an award-winning executive coach, a mindfulness coach, and a yoga teacher. She's also a speaker, and she has helped leaders tap into the deep presence and also have been working for over 15 years in the corporate world. She has her coaching services, Aboard With Up, where she helps leaders and other coaches to develop their inner purpose and to have a good balance in life and work. We have Rebecca in our podcast, Soulful Us, and I can't wait to have this conversation. So let's ask from Rebecca all our questions about leadership and about how to be a high performance leader. So hi, Rebecca, how are you?
Hi, Prabhleen. It's so nice to be here. I'm doing well today. It's a quiet, rainy day here in the Ottawa area.
Rebecca, the first thing I want to start with is, of course, the leadership, how much responsibility a leader has. Like my own husband, he's a business owner. So I see him juggling through different problems. You have to deal with the team, and you also have to make sure you're up on every task. And also, like problems come in like without even knowing you, right? You get up one day and you're like, okay, this is up and I have to fix this. All the problem solving skills you need. So where do you start if someone comes to you and they're all over the place? And where do you start with them? Like where do they start their journey?
Yeah, so the journey usually starts with, they're usually drawn into my work as a result of some feeling of desire, longing, and sometimes they can't articulate what they feel is missing or what they're looking for. But often what I find is at the core of it is some desire for space. Spaciousness seems to be something that a lot of leaders are looking for. And the spaciousness that they're looking for is not just like a schedule spaciousness, but a spaciousness in their own minds. So a lot of folks who are in leadership roles, as you said there, they have not just the tasks that they're responsible for that create this sense of pressure and responsibility, but also the decisions that they're making that maybe they carry home with them. The emotional work of leadership is a big piece. The mental spinning that can sometimes continue into the evenings, keep them awake at night, those types of things. So what I find a lot of leaders are really looking for is that sense of spaciousness. And what's interesting is that when we start looking at what gets in the way of that sense of spaciousness for folks, often there are external factors at play that we need to work with. But there's also often this discomfort with the very spaciousness that they are craving. So where I usually start with people is actually helping them build their capacity to be with the discomfort of slowing down, to be with the discomfort of leaving tasks unfinished, to be with the discomfort of all of that change that has to happen in order for them to access that spaciousness.
You definitely hit the spot because my husband, he sits in the truck, like he has his car, right? And for about an hour sometime. And then I ask him to come inside and I need my time. Sometimes he's on the phone, of course, dealing with people. But then, like you said, like space of that belonging and that spaciousness. And he's still there. Yesterday he came in and he played with my son and he ate his dinner and can I go now? Can I go sit in my car? And I'm like, so how would you explain that? What, like you said, like belonging and spaciousness and slowing down, what is he trying to accomplish or what is he not understanding? Like if you can explain that to me.
Yeah, that example of taking that space in the car. Yeah, sometimes it may be that there's so much going on in a leader's mind that they feel, even when they're present with people, there's a sense that I need to figure this out before I can give myself the gift of being able to relax into the moment. I don't know your husband, but in an example like that, what I often hear and what I have experienced myself as well is that we can view presence as like this luxury that I'll be able to settle into the moment once I've finished figuring this out, or like in the mind trying to figure something out. And it can feel really difficult to shift our attention away from all those problems that need to be solved, all those tasks that we need to do, all the little open loops in our mind that if we're honest with ourselves, we'll never fully close all those open loops. So a lot of the capacity building that happens in my work with leaders is helping them sit with things being imperfect, unfinished, and to learn to trust that you can pause and breathe for a moment. You can pause and be fully immersed in play with your child, and all those things going on in your mind, like they'll be there when you come back. Like you won't lose that idea. You won't lose that sense of drive to want to pursue more. So I think that's the very gradual rewiring that's often most challenging at the start of working with leaders.
Yeah, like even with me, when I'm working on a project, then I'm like overthinking, okay, like I have to do this, I have to do that. And sometimes it causes like sleeplessness, right? Because if there is a major project that's coming in a week, then my mind is constantly thinking, and I know in the end all works out, but then it creates that sense of anxiety in the time being. Yeah, so how can somebody kind of disconnect from that project or from whatever is happening around them, their family life, their work life, to create that sense of, like you said, belonging with themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. And whether you call it belonging, spaciousness, presence is a word I often use for it, or that's often used beyond me for it. And it's interesting because it's really a process, as you know from meditation, it's a process of shifting from the mind and directing attention in a deliberate way into what's here in the present moment. And then as we do that, we start to feel viscerally this sense of connectedness, this sense of okay, I'm no longer just absorbed by me and what I need to do, but I'm more at ease in this moment right here. And the way we do that, which can be incredibly powerful to explore for busy minded leaders, is to remember that our bodies are always present in the moment. So culturally, it's not normal to stop and check in with the body and move the body and engage with the body as an integral part of our experience, especially of our work experience. So when it comes to folks who have very busy minds, one thing that often does not work is trying to just tell your mind to quiet down. Be like, all right, stop thinking. I'm not going to think about this. I'm going to think about something else instead, because our thoughts are so sticky. We can really get absorbed in them quite easily. One of the first things I teach clients is the power of shifting awareness into the body, and to do it in a way that is accessible to folks who maybe have spent a lot of their lives really living from the neck up. So some ways to do this are to bring attention into your hands. So our hands have a lot of sensory receptors.
Yeah.
And even as I'm having this conversation right here, I can bring myself into the moment by just noticing as I'm speaking. It doesn't take my attention away entirely from what I'm verbalizing, but it helps ground me a little bit more in the present if I bring awareness into my hands. For me, I can also bring awareness into my feet. Depending on someone's level of mind-body practice, people find one thing more accessible than another. I think where people really struggle with this is they try to go all out on the embodiment practice and they try to feel into their core and they're like, I can't feel sensation in my heart right now. Or when I feel sensation in my belly, it's overwhelming because there's anxiety there. So bringing sensation into somewhere that's a little more neutral, like the hands, like the feet, like your body resting on the chair beneath you, gives that busy mind something to toggle, to tether itself to in the moment, but it doesn't have to be this overwhelming experience of just sitting with what might be in the body, which is, as you pointed to earlier, like anxiety that can feel really overwhelming to be present with.
Yeah.
So it's finding that accessible anchor point somewhere between being completely disconnected from the body, being up in the head, and being like fully immersed in this sensory cocktail of what's happening in the body, which for a lot of people can feel quite overwhelming as a place to start.
Yeah. Okay. So start with our hands. So yeah, what is the first thing they can incorporate in their daily lives? As we go to work and we are so consumed in whatever is happening, we're in this autopilot mode all the time. But what is the first step to bring us back to this awareness to ourselves, to our connect with ourselves so we can be a better leader?
Yeah, and it sounds remarkably simple, but there's a couple that I often start with. One is, as you said, we can get caught in this autopilot state. And the faster we move, the more that state can really be our driver. So one thing that I recommend is to just practice. This is one of the first practices I'll give people. Practice slowing your pace like 3 to 5%. So it's not a big pace slowing. It doesn't require that you abandon responsibilities and go on a complete sabbatical from work, but it's inviting you to practice being intentional about the pace that you're moving and noticing the default pace that you move at. So this can look like committing to, anytime you think of it, walk just a little bit slower, speak just a little bit slower. And as you do that, again, you can anchor your awareness because you're slowing down enough for your awareness to catch up with you. You can anchor your awareness in the body as like an add-on layer. And you can sense like how that little adjustment of pace, how that little adjustment of bringing that attention into the body just a little bit as you step a little more slowly and bring your awareness into your feet as you're walking, or move a little more slowly, speak a little more slowly, type a little more slowly, scroll a little bit more slowly. Awareness starts to catch up with you and you naturally shift out of that autopilot. Without it needing to be like this big meditative practice, it can be something that you really weave in. The challenge is remembering to do it and having the discipline to do it.
That's amazing. Another question that was coming to my head is that whenever we have a lot going on, I have seen people switching to their phones and, like you were mentioning, scrolling, and they start scrolling on their phones. It's a dopamine hit. We all know that. Has somebody come to you with that problem, and what could be like the solution to that, or how could they change that habit?
Yeah, that's a big one. And there are so many reasons why we turn to our phones, right? So where I start with this, and absolutely, this is something I think every single person I've ever worked with would say it's not their primary challenge, but it is a piece of the puzzle. It's such a broad challenge that touches so many people in our world right now. But where I would start with this is to offer the invitation to just notice. Notice when you turn to your phone. Notice. One question that I'll offer people is, what are you looking for in there? Sometimes you're looking for an escape, right? Something happens, you're feeling, again, lots of sensation in the body, and it's a way to numb. So that's one thing that could be happening. Another might be, I'm looking for connection. I'm looking for validation, maybe. I'm checking my social media to see if my recent post got likes. That's what I'm reaching for out of the phone. And then the question becomes, once you know what you're looking for in there, is there a more wholesome alternative that could offer me what I'm looking for? So it's not about just punishing ourselves and throwing the phone aside, but really curiously looking at what's this device offering me right now? And then is there a more wholesome alternative to that? And we can learn so much about ourselves through our relationships with these very addictive boxes that we hold in our hands.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And also, there comes the question of also distraction, because this is also a distraction whenever a lot is going on. Of course, as a leader, you are managing a lot of tasks, and then you have this distraction. You also have the internet. So, how do you cope with distractions in that leadership role?
Yeah, the distractions. So this is, as I was sharing what I just shared, that's one thing is having awareness, knowing why you're looking for the thing. But the other thing that's so helpful on the distraction side is the process of boundaries. Being like, I am not going to look at this device at this time of day. I'm going to keep it in a drawer. I often have my phone in a drawer in a different room than I am in. So boundaries help a lot on the distraction side, I think, as well. Just, again, having awareness, like noticing how engaging with your device on a regular basis fragments your attention, how it feels. I know for me, when I'm on a screen or on my device for a long time, I literally feel in my body like energy is being sucked out of my brain. It's such a visceral experience. And you feel that when you exceed your own limits of screen time, I feel.
Yes.
You can really start to notice that. So the practice of awareness is a biggie, but the practice of setting boundaries for yourself in a deliberate way, so you're not just leaving it up to willpower. I speak to my family about screen time often. My 6-year-old daughter will call me out if I look at my phone before I say good morning to her or something. It's such a conversation in our house because I normalize how challenging it is to find that balance, to use these devices in a way that doesn't create more distraction and reduce my ability to focus on what matters and our whole family's ability to do the same.
Yeah, for me, the alarm clock works because even for my son, I know he has on Alexa, he has a 30-minute timer. Okay, you get your TV time, of course, right? But I'm like, okay, it's a 30-minute. I'd already set it. So before he used to throw tantrums, right? No, mama, can I get one more minute? But then eventually he knew that this is the rule, 30 minutes. TV is turning off. I can throw as many tantrums as I want. So at time now he knows his mama put on the 30-minute alarm, right? And then he could watch it later for 30 minutes, but the 30-minute alarm says 30 minutes. And I use Pomodoro technique because of course there is phone. I work on multiple businesses. I help my husband with his business and then I have my own things going on. So I'm like, okay, it's about 4 sessions of 25 minutes. So you get a 5-minute break in between, and then you get 15-minute break. You can set up the times if you want for longer, but that's works for me. And then I'm like, okay, I'm now focused on this task for 25 minutes. And then I have my 5-minute break because I feel like I used to look at the screen for longer periods of time and I started having this headache, this pressure in my eyes. And I worked that I got to know that I have to move my eyes or I have to blink often. It's awareness again, coming back to the body is what your body needs at the time. And so that's what I started doing my exercises with my eye exercise. I go for a little walk, come back within 5 minutes, and then get back into my work. So that really helped me coming back to doing the tasks and then also not feeling overwhelmed. As that was used to happen by the end of the day, I'd be exhausted and I would be like, I don't know what I'm doing. But that really helped me ground myself. So, Rebecca, let's talk about Barvida. Like, how did you start that? What was the foundational moments and how did it all come together? And what do you do there? Yeah.
Yeah. So let me take you back a little bit. So earlier in my journey, I was working in the corporate world and in parallel, I was starting to go down this path of doing a lot of yoga, eventually trained as a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, started training as a coach as well. And this was all really driven by my own individual development journey, I'll say, my personal growth journey, and just becoming so incredibly curious about the human experience, adult development and mindfulness in particular. And then I was on this corporate path that felt a bit separate from that. And then I had this very strong desire to start bringing that into my work. And I also noticed how all that work I was doing on the side was dramatically shifting how I felt at work, how I performed at work, how I was showing up in different environments I was working and leading within. And it was so clear to me that I had tried all of these leadership development, traditional programs, and nothing shifted things as much as the more what I'll call and what I now view as the foundational work of personal development, nervous system regulation, like all these things that are really the foundation upon which performance rests, right? So I was trying to add in all the skills and tools and things like that for years on a shaky inner foundation. And it wasn't until I started really cultivating this stronger inner foundation that I realized, oh, this was the missing piece all along. And it was so natural for me to just want to share it, to be like, I have this knowledge and this experience. I can help you get out of your mind and into the moment. And to me, that's like, for me in my life, that's been the most precious gift in the world. And I feel such a natural pull to help and share that with everyone I possibly can. So that's really what Arbor Vita is built upon. And yeah, these days, the focus of my work is on helping purpose-driven executives and entrepreneurs, founders, strengthen the inner architecture of their leadership. So I focus heavily on inner mastery. And I do that through coaching. I do that through a year-round executive fellowship that I host, which is just amazing. We do nature-based retreats and these immersive experiences. And then I also do some mindfulness training programs as well.
The retreats are in person, and where are they located usually, the retreats?
Yeah, so I host day retreats in the Ottawa area. I also do some online immersion days. So I do a silent immersion, which is a lot of fun for leaders. Really, again, practicing with building capacity to be with what's here in the present moment, to slow down, to practice for a whole day, quieting that noise and practicing being okay with setting things aside and having an open to-do list and just being in that discomfort. And not just discomfort, but the spaciousness that comes on the other side of that discomfort. So yeah, online and in the Ottawa area is where I host my in-person retreats. And then my coaching programs are fully online, as are my mindfulness mentorships.
Okay, that's amazing. And you do online coaching and one-on-one sessions? Like, how does the coaching work?
I offer one-on-one format. Typically a 12-week program is the way I structure it to start. And then I also do that in a group format. So people can choose either or, whichever they prefer.
And in this episode, we talked about belonging, spaciousness, awareness, and distraction. So a lot of the different topics. What would you want to say? What is the one thing that you think people don't take care of, or when they come to you? So what is the one thing that you want to share with the world to change, or any personal advice that you want to give to people?
So I think changing your life depends less on the outer circumstances falling into place around you and more on the small daily intentional steps that you take. So I believe as a society, we focus so much on how to get those outer things. How am I going to get the promotion? How am I going to get the relationship? Whatever that outer, the new house, the nice bag, car, whatever. We focus on those and focus less on where we place our attention, the qualities of our own relationship with ourselves. And in my experience, it was a big revelation when it finally clicked for me that at the core of all those things I wanted was this central element of, I just want to be at peace, right? And the big piece that I want to offer people is a more direct route to that peace, is to say, you don't need to get all those things you can have all those things. But the foundational element of the inner mastery and peace that comes with that is going to make your journey towards all those things so much more sustainable and joyful and expansive. So I guess that's what I'll offer. And it can start with something as simple as taking that initiative to slow your pace by 3 to 5%, or to bring awareness into your hands. It can feel like a far stretch to believe that these things are where you start, but they've been completely revolutionary for me and the clients that I've worked with, and they really do make a huge difference. So give them a try. And if you'd like a place to start, I have a free 5-day pathway called the Reset on my website at www.arborvita.com/gift. And you can get access to that. It's an email a day, less than 2 minutes a day to practice these things, and they will start to give you a little taste of what's possible.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. And I always tell people, like you said, it's simple step, but consistency. Do them daily. They're very simple, just being aware of your hands or the sensation in your hands or slowing down. So I don't think it takes a lot from you. So just be consistent with them. Just keep going and keep showing up. And if you have any questions, you can ask Rebecca. I will share her website in the description, and you can definitely contact her if you want any coaching from her or you want to check out her retreats. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Soulful Us. And thank you, Rebecca, for coming in our studio and sharing this beautiful space with us and sharing all your knowledge and wisdom in this episode. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Prabhleen. It's really nice to meet you.